Henry David Thoreau. He was not only an American author, but he was also a philosopher, a poet, an abolitionist, a naturalist, and much more. He was born July 12, 1817, in Concord, Massachusetts, to John and Cynthia Thoreau. He attended Harvard and died May 6, 1862, in his hometown from tuberculosis. Thoreau was a huge part in Transcendentalism, which was a religious and philosophical movement, and they focus on society and institutions and how it corrupted the purity of the individual, and they also focus on the power of the individual. One of his most famous works is called On the Duty of Civil Disobedience. Through this essay in 1849, Thoreau criticizes the government. He even calls the government unjust. He also criticizes the idea of slavery and the Mexican-American War. One famous quote about the government Thoreau says is, "That government is best which governs least, and I should like to see it acted up to more rapidly and systematically." Thoreau's next major piece is called Walden. In this 1854 published book, Thoreau tells about his time in solitude in the cabin in the woods he built for himself. Through Walden, Thoreau tells of his time he had and his personal views on individualism and how he found himself and became one with his inner self. On October 30th of 1859, Thoreau writes another essay called A Plea for Captain John Brown. In this essay, Thoreau tells of his personal views on slavery and supports John Brown in his attempt to fight slavery with his raid on Harper's Ferry. Thoreau lived in the Antebellum era. This was the era that led up to the Civil War. During this period, the North were establishing themselves as industry workers, while the South focused more on cash crops like cotton. The Antebellum era had a huge influence on Thoreau. Slavery was one of the major topics Thoreau talked about, and I attribute that to his surroundings. Thoreau also was influenced by the government and wrote against the government and how they were handling the development of the United States. During the lifetime of Thoreau, tension between the North and the South rose and ultimately resulted in the Civil War. Slavery also was one of the major historical events Thoreau has been linked to. Also, the start of the daily newspaper began during the life of Thoreau. So why read Thoreau? Well, if you are trying to learn how to become one with your inner self, Thoreau is the author for you. His wonderful education also allows him to relay his knowledge in ways that allow him to still be quoted today. Also, Thoreau is very influential and his writings are intriguing. Thoreau has been credited to be influences to the great Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi. Walden, Thoreau's most famous works, is required to be read in prestigious colleges because of Thoreau's excellent mind-stimulating words and ideas. Thoreau in 1848 once had to spend the night in jail after refusing to pay toll taxes.